So this list of steps of win-win process actually is not originally a list of win-win steps. It's actually a problem-solving model that was developed way back in the 1930s originally. And so it's kind of widely adapted way of thinking about how do you solve a conflict. And so in this series of steps, what I do first of all is I need to clarify with the other person, well, actually, let's try and find out a solution that'll work for both of us. Because if I don't explain that that's what I'm trying to do at the start, they will think it's a war. They will think it's a struggle for one of us to win and one of us to lose, and so they adopt a different kind of attitude to it. The next thing is I need to have the skill of defining my needs instead of just thinking about what solution I wanted. And then I need to have the skill of thinking up solutions like we were just doing, just brainstorming ideas, and then checking the solutions to find what solution works best, what solution fits best, and then planning exactly what we need to do to implement the solution or solutions we've chosen, and then checking that it worked. Okay, so let me give you an example. And there's the reason why I'm giving you this example is because this sounds like quite a sophisticated process, but it's actually child's play. It's actually quite easy. So when my son was between the age of 3 and 7 years old, I was a single parent, so he lived with me. And so I got lots of experience over that time of using this method. So I started using the method when he was 3 years old. And that is kind of pushing the lower limits of using the method in this formal way that I'm explaining, because when a kid is under 3 years old, it's very hard for them to imagine from another person's point of view. So this method depends on both people being able to take the other person's position and understand, okay, that's what you're trying to get, and here's what I'm trying to get, so how can we both do that? Well, it's possible to adapt the method. So a parent who saw their kid drawing on the walls at 2 years old could think about it and think, okay, this kid really likes drawing and they like drawing on big surfaces, so maybe I'll put up a whiteboard on that place on the wall, and they can I can show them how to just play on that whiteboard and they will get exactly what they want, and my wall will in future be safe. So that's a modification of the method, accepting that they can't think up the solutions and I need to work it out myself. But by the time Francis was 3, he was just managing to go with me in thinking up what possible solutions might there be. So it comes to the time when he's 6 years old. So remember, I'm a single parent. This means I'm not in a relationship at that time, and I'm living with just him. And I got a phone call one night from a friend of mine. So I'm working as a counsellor and teacher, and I got a phone call from a friend of mine, and this friend said, well, she had something that she needed to think through, a decision she needed to make, and she knew that I was trained in counselling, and would I be able to come over just for an hour and talk with her and help clarify her options, and it was an important decision she wanted to make. So I explained to my son Francis, well, Francis, if we go over there now, like it's in the early evening, by the time we get back it's going to be slightly after your bedtime. I forget what his bedtime was, so it's probably something like 8 o'clock or something. The reason why parents set bedtimes for kids, by the way, is so they don't go crazy. So the parents don't go crazy, you understand? So, they tell their kids that it's all about health and brain growth and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, it is. It's about health and brain growth for the parents, and the fact that if you 24/7 interacting with a 4-year-old, then it drives you around the twist. So, yeah. So anyway, I said to Francis, okay, and we had a deal, by the way, about his bedtime. We had a deal that, because he liked to have a bedtime story, and that 5-minute arrangement, it's sort of like, I don't want to do bedtime stories at 11 o'clock at night either, that's my time. So the arrangement was, okay, we have a set time for a bedtime, and I will read you a bedtime story, and that's the deal. So I know that on this occasion, I realized that I'm going to be away after the arranged time, and so what I said to him is, I said, look, how about we go over to this person's place, you can watch TV or something while I'm talking with her, And whatever time we get home, I'll read you a bedtime story. Hell, I'll read you 2 bedtime stories, it's suiting me to be able to help this person. So he agrees. He doesn't know exactly what it's going to be like. So we go over to this person's place and I sit down and start talking to her. And then he starts doing something. He's 6 years old. And he starts doing something which is kind of it's a sort of occupational hazard of early parenthood. And that is he starts climbing over me. So I'm sitting trying to talk to this person. And he's actually kind of climbing up on top of me. So I put him down on the ground and he climbs up again. I put him down on the ground. And I realized, I'm trying to be a good listener, listening to this person, and I realized I really need to send an iMessage to him, So, I can't really carry on listening to her because, I'm having to pay attention to him. So I say, hey, Francis, I can't listen to this person when you're climbing over me. Now, here's where I make a slight error. So you know what I'm supposed to do, right? I'm supposed to send the iMessage, then reflective listen and find out what his deal is, and then we go on from there. It might be a conflict of needs, might be a values conflict, who knows. So what I actually did, embarrassingly, was I said, okay, so I can't listen while you're climbing over me. So what I suggest is I get that, usually at this time it would be pretty much your bedtime. There's a TV in the next room, so you're really welcome to go in and watch whatever you want to watch on the TV there right now. We won't be all that long. The other thing is, I checked with this person, is there a bed where he could lie down, because it's his bedtime, maybe he wants to rest in the other room. And so I suggest you do one of those things. So he says, well, I don't want to do one of those things. So now at this point, I've used this win-win method for 3 years with him, and I kind of know it works, but I also know that there are some times when you just don't have time to do something. And we made this arrangement that we'd go to this person's place, and I didn't expect to have to remake the arrangement in the middle of listening to her. So I'm pretty sure it's not going to be easy to solve right now. And anyway, I want to get back to showing what a great listener I am to this person. So I said to Francis, well, I can't think of anything else to do right now. And he said, well, I'd really like to sort this out so we both get what we want. Okay, that's this step 0. That's the partnership thing, right? I'd really like to sort this out so we both get what we want. And so then I say, well, yeah, I get that. Usually I would like to do things that way as well. But, we're right in the middle of a conversation here, and, I'm not sure that we can easily do this. So he says, well, I think we should start by telling each other what our basic need is. See, he's never seen this written down. He's 6 years old, for goodness sake, but he knows the method because I've done it with him probably 100 times, So he says, I think we should start by saying what are our basic needs. So I think, okay, I'll just get this over with quickly, and then I'll go back to being a good listener. So I say, okay, so Francis, I guess my basic need is that I'm trying to listen here, and as I said, I can't listen while you're climbing over me. And I suppose your basic need is you want to play, And he says, no. He says, I'm really tired. I'm really tired. It's sort of my bedtime, but I don't want to go to sleep in a strange house in a strange room either. That's kind of really weird. And so I guess, I'm just really tired. So now, okay, I know he's tired. He's not actually trying to play. But I said, well, I can understand that now. We still have just these 2 things we can do. You can rest in the next room there where the bed is, or you can watch TV. What else could there be? And he says, well, do you have any other ideas? So this is brainstorming solutions step. Do you have any other ideas? I said, no. So he said, well, I've got a few. And he listed 5. And they were all 5 good win-win suggestions. They're perfectly win-win suggestions, because he's done this hundreds of times. He knows the method. So he as I say, he hasn't seen it written down, but he knows the method. So he says, well, we could do this, we could do this. So I said, okay, I'm kind of embarrassed now because I want to get back to being a good listener, and I this doesn't look good in front of a person. So I said, okay, well, just let's do any of those, whatever you want, man. And he says, well, I think we should check which solution is going to work best for us. Because, he's done this so many times, he knows what's coming next and what's the next step. So, okay, I say, so let's work this out. And so what we chose to do was we got a blanket and a pillow, and we put them on the floor right beside me. So he could wrap himself in this blanket with the pillow there. He's completely safe beside me. He's not in the next room where it's scary and he's in some strange house, and he doesn't have to watch TV or something. And honestly, we organised that, and in 5 minutes he was totally asleep. And so I could have put him on the bed in the next room. I could have leaned him against the TV in that room, or whatever I like. It was all solved. So of course the next room, then we do this the next day we do this final step where I say, okay, so we had a conflict last night, and I guess you're pretty pleased with the way I solved that, huh? And he starts laughing, because he knows that wasn't quite what happened. So the reason why I tell you that story, though, is because this is child's play. This is not a complex method. And a 6-year-old child can actually guide an adult through it, a semi-resistant adult. Like, I can think of more resistant adults than me, but at least a semi-resistant adult that can be guided through it, as long as the 6-year-old child has had the experience of it before. And the reason why people don't use the method is not because it's hard, it's because they just don't know it. They just simply haven't had the experience of doing it.